Well, good morning, and thank you all for joining us. I'm here in Edwardsville, where first responders under the outstanding leadership of Edwardsville Fire Chief Jim Whiteford, Edwardsville Police Chief Michael Philback, and Pontoon Beach Police Chief Chris Madrusik, and others have worked day and night to save lives. I speak for all Illinoisans when I say that we are truly grateful for their courageous service. I also where first responders under the outstanding leadership of Edwardsville Fire Chief Jim Whiteford, Edwardsville Police Chief Michael Philback, and Pontoon Beach Police Chief Chris Madrusik, and others have worked day and night to save lives. I speak for all Illinoisans when I say that we are truly grateful for their courageous service. I also want to recognize that the own earlier this fall. Police officer Tyler Timmons was killed in the line of duty after more than a decade of courageous service in Madison County. 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 Just service in Madison County. My prayers go out to his family and friends and to the Pontoon Beach Police family. I'm joined by Illinois Emergency Management Agency staff and Edwardsville Mayor Art Rizvi, Pontoon Beach Mayor Mike Pagano, Leader Representative Amy Ellick, local officials from Madison County, leaders from Amazon, as well as leaders in this weekend's family reunification and community support efforts. I just came from the Amazon warehouse site where state and local public safety officials briefed me on the latest developments in the disaster response. Developments in the disaster response. Developments in the disaster response. I want to take a moment. The men and women who worked here at the Pontoon Beach Police Department on behalf of the Family Relocation Center deserve our immense gratitude for their critical work. That includes the chaplains who provided counsel to the survivors of this disaster and, of course, to their families. Chris Sedabres, Tim Perry, Chris Clark, Tammy Baker, Sonny Rankin, Dennis Cunningham, Jim Johnston, Vicki Fouts, Jennifer Fouts, Debbie Rogers, Pamela Leslie, and Tim Perry. And the incredible Madison County Coroner's Office under the leadership of Steve Nahn. They really have done outstanding work over the last few days especially. Drivers, dispatchers, and road supervisors worked through the night in service to their community. Members of the community stepped up to give care and comfort, to provide food or counsel, to be there for their neighbor. We may never know all of their names, but we know their character, and they made a difference. My administration is committed to standing with Edwardsville as well as on the road to rebuilding. Yesterday, I authorized a state disaster proclamation for Madison County, as well as all storm-impacted counties, to facilitate these efforts, as well as the pursuit of additional federal resources. We are working directly with the White House and with FEMA to ensure access to federal resources for this community. And as local entities work to secure federal reimbursements and recovery dollars, we will assist every step of the way. IEMA continues to work directly with local officials to actively monitor the storm's impacts throughout the state and especially in central Illinois. At this point, I'm pleased to report that power is fully restored in Madison County and throughout Illinois where communities had power outages due to the storm. To those who experienced home damage, we will pursue all available resources to help you recover. We're also joined today by the Edwardsville Community Foundation. Already, the foundation and other nonprofits have been on the ground at every step of the response. The foundation stands ready to help survivors of families and those out of work through the holidays and beyond. And I want to make sure that all of you know, and I would ask the media to let people know, that if they want to contribute to the efforts here online, they can contribute to edwardsvillecommunityfoundation.org. That's edwardsvillecommunityfoundation.org. 6 individuals clocked in on Friday, and they never came home. An additional person is still receiving medical treatment. We are ensuring that there is a full understanding of what happened to these individuals in their final moments. And while we cannot prevent natural disasters, we can strive to prevent future tragedies and ensure that all Illinoisans make it home safe at the end of their shift. Please join me in a moment of silence and a moment of prayer for the injured and for those who were lost in this terrible tragedy. May their memory be a blessing. Edwardsville, we stand with you as one Illinois. And now I'd like to introduce a terrific local leader here in Madison County, Executive Director of the Edwardsville Community Foundation, Pam Farrar. Pam?
Thank you, Governor Pritzker. On Saturday, we activated our relief fund, and it is open and accepting gifts. As Governor Pritzker said, you can make your gift at edwardsvillecommunityfoundation.org. And we are working swiftly and diligently in our defined processes, to have a thoughtful and impactful and equitable response to meet the needs of our community at this tragic time. I do not have anything else to add. I'll hand it back to Governor Pritzker.
Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media. Yes, sir.
Governor, is there any sort of investigation plan to look into engineering of the building, structural integrity, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, already there's been an effort to determine some of the challenges, the structural, if there were any structural issues, what exactly the storm's trajectory was coming in and affecting the various pieces of the building. So that has already begun and is ongoing.
Who's in charge of that?
The local officials, the incident commander, the fire chief, as well as the local government.
Are any federal agencies involved, Governor, like OSHA or anything?
Not as of now.
Governor, have there been any findings yet as far as safety procedures? Do we know if Amazon was following the best practices, and is that something that would be investigated by the state?
That is something that we've already asked a lot of questions about, and I think we have 2 leaders from Amazon that are with us today, and I would ask John if you wouldn't mind coming up and answering your questions directly.
Happy to.
John, can you take off your mask so you can what's your name, title again?
Sure. It's John Felton. I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Delivery Services. Do you mind repeating your question?
Could you speak to the storm procedures that were followed, and did the company do everything that it could to make sure that the employees were in a designated area and were able to take some kind of shelter from the storm?
Yes. So as their tornado warnings happened, their take shelter happened both in the north side of the building and the south side of the building. And everything we've seen, it was all procedures were followed correctly. The thing that I kind of want to emphasize is just the heroic nature of all 46 people that were in the building. I mean, they definitely saved lives, and we're going to keep investing, and we'll keep seeing, can we get better, what we could have done differently. But it was unbelievable, the amount of heroic nature that happened that night.
John, I understand there's no basement in this building, but there was a safe room. Can you talk about that, how that was used, or maybe could have been used better, what the capacity is of it, how many people got to the safe room? Tell us about your safe room policy.
Yeah, so there was a take shelter location. There was a take shelter location in the north side of the building where the vast majority of the people were. It had plenty of capacity for in the evening of Friday night. It is a smaller shift for us, and so it was more than enough capacity.
So everybody could have been alive if they had gotten to the safe room?
I would not speculate on that.
The safe room survived the tornado, right?
Yeah, the take shelter in the north side of the building was nearly undamaged.
Last question for me, you know, we always hear sirens, and sometimes we don't jump. Are you reviewing?
All indication was there was tremendous focus and effort on this, and that there were megaphones, there were alerts that we were corresponding with drivers that were coming back. There was a tremendous effort that happened that night to keep everybody safe.
Could you give a little more detail and description of that room? How many people went into that room, and what type of shelter was on the south side?
Yeah, so there were 46 people in the building. I believe 39 of them were on the north side, 7 on the south side. And it's a take shelter location.
Can you describe the room that the north side, what type of a structure is that safe room?
I've not been inside of it. I've not been able to go into the building, so I don't know. I've not seen it firsthand.
Was there only one safe room, or were there one at the north side, one at the south side?
Please.
I'm Kelly Nantel with Amazon. I want to be really clear. This is not. I sure will. Thank you. I want to be clear. It's not a safe room as you're describing it. It is an area of the facility so that it's a safer space to be in the building. It is not a safe room. Thank you.
Kelly, is the section where you're talking about, is that built differently than elsewhere, or is it just an interior location?
It's an interior location, right? Is there one or two on each side, the north side and south side? There's not. So in our facility here, there is one on the north side. That is where the vast majority of our employees and partners went, a small handful. And we speculate, again, as John said, or is it was because of the work that they were doing at the time. They congregated on the southern side of the facility.
Do you have how much time they were given?
Minutes,
Minutes before the storm hit?
correct.
What are the policies or procedures for severe weather? Are employees allowed to have cell phones inside of the warehouses to get alerts, or how are they notified, and what's the steps they're told to take when storms hit?
Yes, employees are allowed to have cell phones inside the facility. There's no prohibition against that. There are rules around what they're allowed to do with those cell phones, obviously, because safety is the most important thing for anyone who's inside a facility like that, but they are allowed. We do know that oftentimes employees put their cell phones in their bags or in their purse, so they may not have it on their person, but there's no prohibition against them having it. How were they notified of the severe weather was coming? How were they notified? A couple of different ways. Number one was that there was a siren that went through, and then there were alerts on phones. And then for our end, our leaders immediately took to notifying them through bullhorns. They were using radios to get people to move to the shelter-in-place location.
The phone alerts, were those like the ones that I got?
Sorry?
Those phone alerts, were those like the ones that I got, or those specific to Amazon employees from?
No, those are the general community alarms. That's like everybody, that's how we're notified as well.
The 40 survivors, were they all in that safe area, or were there survivors from other parts of the building as well? Do you know that yet?
We don't know the details of that yet.
Can anyone speak to, the prior speaker mentioned that there were 7 people on the south side. Can anyone speak to, is that where the 6 casualties came from out of those 7?
Yes, it is.
I don't want to bogart all your time here, but it's a relatively new facility. Do you know anything about the design recommendations for those safe areas that you're talking about at the time it was constructed?
So we know that the building was constructed consistent with code. And so, obviously we want to go back and look at every aspect of this. There's always going to be tremendous learnings from any type of catastrophic event like this. And we want to make sure that our policies, our practices are consistent with any learnings that we have from this event and with all best practices.
The person that was injured, is that the person that was on the south side of the building?
Yes, it was.
Kelly, OSHA has announced they're launching an investigation into Amazon. Are you aware of that? Do you welcome that?
I'm not aware of that, and of course we welcome that.
Question for Governor Pritzker. So the president just announced that he'd be going to Kentucky on Wednesday to survey the damage. Has there been any conversation from the White House about a visit here? And are you confident that you'll get the federal resources that are needed through the discussions with FEMA and the White House?
I am very confident that we will receive the needed resources. The president, in a phone call that we had with the group of governors, pledged to all of us that those resources would be made available to us. I made a point of, we had the FEMA director on the line and pointing out that it may take us several days to determine which aspects of programs we may be applying for from the state of Illinois, and of course they were open, ready, willing, and able.
No news about a visit here?
No.
What kinds of regulations does the state have regarding businesses in this kind of emergency situation? Are there supposed to be designated places that the state regulates, drills, emergency management, keep track of like who is there and have a head count? Can you speak to those kinds of regulations at the state level?
Yeah, I can speak to the fact that at the local level there are rules and regulations, and of course the code, which follows state law, or is intended to follow state law, and is followed at the local level. And so, we want to, obviously there's an investigation that's going on to make sure that all of the code was followed in the building of the building, and to find out what exactly occurred here. I mean, this was this tornado was something that was, an unexpected, major, severe storm. We are seeing more and more of that, I might add, throughout the state of Illinois. And so it makes us wonder, I have to say, and I've spoken with the legislators that are here too, about whether or not we need to change code based upon the climate change that we're seeing all around us. Legislators that are here too, about whether or not we need to change code based upon the climate change that we're seeing all around us. But suffice to say that that's something that we're deeply concerned about, to make sure that code is where it ought to be.
Well, IMEA specifically states that Illinois is in the fourth or fifth in terms of tornadoes per square foot in the state or square mile.
Sure.
And there is something that the legislature passed in the 98 General Assembly passed regulations for new or remodeled school buildings. Are you looking at having that extend to more than just schools, businesses, this type of thing?
That will all be part of the discussion that goes on in the aftermath of this. Right now, of course, we're all working on recovery and helping the families through the tragedy.
Governor, you mentioned
Well, we will work on it together, I think, to, again, examine what happened here, the effects of the tornado on the building, what the architects designed, engineers designed, and so on.
Governor, you mentioned climate change. How about, economic change? We have so many of these mega warehouses all over the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Does the code need to be looked at to see, what they're made of, whether they should have basements or some escape plan? I mean, what do you think just about the code as it relates to, these things are popping up, they're like tornado targets all over the Midwest.
Well, let's start with, of course, that's what I was just saying, that we have to look at, first we want to see what happened exactly here. I mean, we are literally 3 days post this disaster, and there is, a lot of investigation being done. Let me also say that we should be pleased that Illinois is actually a hub for distribution, warehousing, manufacturing, and so on. So we want to attract those businesses. We want to keep those businesses here in Illinois. And yes, we want to make sure that code is up to date, especially up to date given the serious change in climate that we've seen across the country.
Next question is, would you like to see the code explore the idea of basements? Because, even Disneyland has tunnels.
As I understand, the challenge here is flooding, that you can't dig very far down before you start to, potentially see flooding. So that's why they don't allow in the industrial area here basements, and there wasn't one as a result.
I realize it's very early and not able to get to the safe area.
I will say it's too early in the investigation to really know, but I don't know if the folks from Amazon have any further information. I just would say that the weather beacon, that you get on your phone did go out, was received by a lot of people. I don't know what was received inside the building or who had their phones with them. But there was a notice with seeming like several minutes, if not more, warning for people. So
We have time for 2 more questions.
For Amazon, how long does it take to get from one side of the building to the other? And is that an indication that there should be a safe area on both sides?
I can't tell you exactly how long it takes. I can tell you it's a 1.1 million square foot building, and so it's a significantly large building.
If you have minutes, would you have enough time to make it to the opposite side walking?
I think you're asking me to speculate. I really can't. Every incident is obviously different. This tornado, by the time the warnings came through, we were, in a matter of minutes. It moved very quickly, and it was catastrophic.
One more question.
Governor, pardon me if I'm being repetitive here, but just your initial thoughts and concerns and message to families and friends of those who were impacted, and also, what is it you want to know about what happened at the Amazon warehouse Friday night? When will you get, what information do you seek where you put your mind at ease?
Well, I guess I'll start with the last part of your question first. I've already been asking those questions, and you all have asked some of those questions about whether people had their cell phones, were allowed to have their cell phones, and I'm told they were. The questions about, who was in the building and how do you, know at a given moment who was in the building, because we were unable to find out until a little bit later how many people and who. And so those are questions that I've asked, and Amazon has provided initial answers. But again, there's an ongoing kind of look into what happened. As to what I would say to the community and to the families of the loved ones that were lost and the gentleman who is injured in the hospital, this is a tragedy of enormous proportion. We have not seen something like this for quite a while in the state of Illinois, and unfortunately these kinds of storms are happening more and more often. And it doesn't help to know that. It just is a fact. And just the families, I think what really gives me hope is the entire community, not just Edwardsville, but all the surrounding communities. And you see all these first responders behind me. They all came together to help. At 8:30 when this thing hit, roughly speaking, on Friday night, all night, there was another storm that hit shortly after the first one. So they were being pelted with wind and rain as they were all in the facility trying to rescue people. There were, water mains that had been broken off, so there was water flowing in the building, again, while they were trying to rescue people. And there were ledges of concrete that were hanging and potentially endangering people that these folks walked through to find and rescue people. So, to do their best to make sure that the site was safe. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm also genuinely concerned for the families here that just in an instant lost 6 of our community members here. And there's nothing that can bring them back, but the community is coming together around them, and I'm very proud of that fact.
Question for Amazon. What is being done for the workers that were impacted by this tragedy? Trauma counseling, those sorts of things. And also, is this going to have an impact on, we're 2 weeks away from Christmas. It's a very, very busy time of year.
Yeah, so and that's exactly why I'm here, is we are reaching out to both the victims' families and figuring out what we can do for them. All of our employees are getting paid time off, but we're also adding rental cars, lift certificates, and we're committed to this community. We're going to rebuild this site. We're going to kind of come together, and so we're motivated to bring this community back together, bring this site back together. and that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.